All right. Just make sure. Let me just check. Waiting for scoring. Just want to make sure I can hear myself and everything. Okay, cool. We are. I'm able to hear myself. All right. So, what's going on? Doubt anybody's going to be here. Frankly, I don't think anybody's going to want to listen to this at all. But oddly enough, I kind of just wanted to just go live and kind of talk and really speak out loud, regardless if people watch this for the slate or not, regarding CS, DFS, and things that I've been wanting to try and things that I've been seeing. So the reason I'm going live here, um, also I got a food delivery. I wanted a smoothie. Look, man, today's my Saturday. This is my Saturday night, so I'm gonna stay till like 3 o'clock playing like Mass Effect and gaming and goofing around later. But I wanted to do some CS lines anyway. So I have to get up and get the door in like 15 minutes or so. I'm gonna be live for I don't know, probably 40 or something. But one thing that I have personally seen and looked at for CS is used to, uh, and the videos are both on this channel and on my old one of how I would play CS, and I have found that my strategy I don't think it's necessarily archaic. I just don't think it works anymore. With the switch from MR12 to MR or from MR15 to MR12 for CS, I just feel like, you know, the way that I was playing has not worked out nearly as much as I've wanted to. And I think this slate specifically is a great example of what I'm personally trying to do, to find either a new way to play or just adapt to how the game is playing. Because we've had CS2 for about a year ish now. Actually, 8 months, 9 months now with MR12, and what we're finding is that, at least from a DFS perspective, because we used to have the full 30 rounds, and it would be very easy to project how teams would do, specifically how people would score if they were doing, like if team won like 16-9 on a map, and then they like won like 16-8 on a map, and you could calculate, what their bonus would be for the map sweep, and then the rounds not played bonus used to be far more important on the old format that Counter Strike was played on, because like when we play 30 rounds, and if you don't play 10 of those, that's automatic 5 points. Play 12 of those, that's automatic 12 points. Well, now we're getting into a situation where we have a lot of games that are finishing like 13-11, 13-10, you know, and instead of getting that bonus for rounds not played that used to, carry, the worst player on the good team or the second worst player on the good team, and like give them an extra, like, anywhere from like 4 to 7, 8 points per map that they won. We really lost that aspect with MR12, and I think that's what's hurting what I used to do of truly just, I would just stack the winning teams, 3-3, and then just mix and match. And due to the nature of, most of these slates being like a max center of like 21 or stuff, like that wasn't an issue. Whereas now you get into that, or you do that, and you're seeing that in terms of DraftKings scorings, you're having a lot of guys from the losing teams actually outscore guys from the winning teams. Um, Yet again, with the MR12 stuff, if you're, we're also seeing a case of when scoring is breaking down and how people are scored and stuff based on like the first map. If you're like the third best player on the winning team of the first map, say your team wins, 13-10, and you're the third best player, and you have done like, you know, you're probably like 12, probably got 12, 13, 14-ish kills, maybe 15 kills, probably 12, 13, 14 deaths, and maybe like 4 assists or something. And, that's very much a situation of where like you're exiting map one with like anywhere from, depending on how many first kills you have, anywhere from like, 16.5 to 19.5, 20, 21.5 points and stuff, if not even lower. And if you're the best player on your team, now there are outliers, like Mondesi is one of them, Zaiwu still one of them, Wonderful is one of them, but there's a real chance that like the best player on the winning team of map one has like 21, 22 points. Second best player on the winning team has like, 18.5 points. Third best player, anywhere from like the numbers I just said. And then you have the fourth and fifth best player. They could be scoring like 11 to 9, 7 to 10 points. Then you start looking at the other team, leaving map one. Best player in the losing team might be like right in line with the winner of map of the top team, where he's got like 21 to 18. You're clearly gonna have guys like in the negatives or lower at the bottom of that, but then you have like you could have probably the fourth, third, and second best player on the losing team score right in the teens as well, anywhere from like 11 to 15 points and stuff. And so we're at a point to where, at least for me, when I look at my approaches that I've had that have been very successful on CS:GO, I'm just not finding the return that I've used to. And I guess we can kind of go into this slate and we can talk about it more. Also, if you guys have any questions or anything, this isn't necessarily a like a CS for dummies. CS, like, I'm not here to do that, and I'm not here to teach you how to play Counter Strike. I'm very much analyzing stuff from uh, a point of trying to get better. Oh, my food's almost here. But let's go ahead and look at the slate today. Let me go ahead and bring all this up on the screen and whatnot. Also, 6 of you guys here on a Monday. It's very nice. Thank you for joining me on your Monday evening. So let's go ahead and take a gander at this slate and look at where we're at. Also, I haven't been on DraftKings. Do I have? I need to claim these before we. I know I have achievements to claim. It's just this one, okay? Because I will forget to do that. So when we're looking, also I didn't play NBA today. I'd rather just kind of see how this first round goes. I didn't play anything on DraftKings today. Okay, so when we're looking at this slate here, we're looking at individual teams that are very much one-sided. Also, we're seeing another thing I got to complain about with MR12 is that I don't like it from a competitive advantage because, and most people would argue the opposite aspect of this. I think it's way harder to win now than it used to be. Okay, which from a competitive aspect of watching esports and being there, that keeps both teams very much alive, which is what most people want. I personally don't like that. Like, I want blowouts. I want the best teams to win, like, hands down. And they're still winning. But as I said, most games now are finishing like 13-10, 13-9, 13-11, or going into overtime. Whereas it used to be 16-7, 16-6. Like, you could have real blowouts with how the economy of this game has really hasn't changed despite the fact we're playing less rounds. Like, you could have like a team who's really good on, like, say, Anubis um, on T side, which, I mean, it's a T-sided map and stuff. But like, you could have a team that's really good and they run into an issue. They lose their pistol. They just, CT gets lucky or whatever, and they end the half at like 7. What would it be? 8 rounds? No, 12 rounds a half. Yeah, they'd end the game. They'd end the half like 7-6, 8-6, 8-5. I just went blank on the actual rounds number, but like, the games are much closer now. And so, like, even when you're looking at the betting odds and stuff, I mean, this is kind of different, or not as drastic and stuff, or not as like this one here for like G2 should win, no lie, clear favorite. Big clan's got a big clan and stuff. But like, when you look at FaZe and Monty and stuff, like, I think Monty is much. Yeah, you also have to look at it like this is basically two G2 versus big matches, okay? Because, like, let me check. It's like, G2 is the favorite in this game. FaZe is the favorite in the game. But Monty plays very similar to G2. And what I mean by that is when we're looking at how Monty plays, it's literally DemQQ and Waro 2K carrying the team. Like, everybody else is like NPCs. And when you look at G2, it's Monacy, Nico, Hunter's going to do his thing, whatever. Next is there. Hooksy is like an absolute, but he's just an NPC. He's just there. So like G2 is ran through Monacy and Nico, right? And yet again, we're talking about like the loser here for Monty, but like just speaking of how this game is played now, like DemQQ and Waro can like legit carry the fucking team, and they could like they can win and have Kursal and the other guys like just play like ass, just play horrible. I gotta get my food from the door really fast. Actually, not my food. My food. I'll be back in like a minute. You guys got any questions? Feel free to drop them. I'll check them out when I come back. Uh, yeah, I'll be right back. I'm so sorry. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I went through another door. So I just slammed the piss out of the fucking wall there. All right. I got my like 10 p.m. smoothie. Now I can really tear up this slate. So like going back to like how Monty plays. DemQQ and Waro can like carry the entire team, and the team can still suck. And then like even when they lose, DemQQ and Waro 2K can outscore. Like they could realistically be outscoring Kerrigan and the fourth worst player from FaZe. And the way that FaZe plays is that's rotating, every every map. Like when we look at how FaZe is playing, I believe Ropes is the one who's been the worst so far, which I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, so like Ropes has been the worst player at the moment from these guys in this in Pro League so far. And anyway, the reason I'm bringing all this up is because like I mean generally like the way I used to build would be primarily through these two teams, and realistically you would want Monacy as like the captain, but you'll quickly see that like not only we're just gonna throw random guys in there. Not only is it hard to like do that, we get very much like, oh, it's the same lineups and stuff being played. And this is a pretty negative lineup because like Nex is gonna not perform that well. Hunter is not gonna perform that well. And so like realistic, you would want like Nico in there, and then you play like Nexa or Hooksy, and then like that's it. But then again, you're playing the three worst guys on FaZe. You can't get to Brokey, so you're gonna want to like you would want to squeeze in like Frozen. Most likely Rain, probably Kerrigan, and then yet again you're stuck with Hooksy and stuff. And so like this type of build, with the pricing that DraftKings has done, where I'm at is now it's overplayed, it's duplicated too much, and it's also like not viable to win anymore. Uh, like of how I used to. That's why like my own personal approach, I'm having to change it because it's just not working anymore. Whereas like now, if you're doing this type of build, you're very much having to use one of the guys from a losing team to fit in. Which what I've been trying to figure out, and yet again, because we've been having so many 5-game slates, it's been hard to do. because you just have like a ton of data sources and shit. And then the other two gamers, the main two gamers that we've had have been like the Elsa um, series at like 3 a.m. and fucking Endpoint has been on like 7 of those stupid slates. And I don't think I've ever seen Endpoint win a match on DraftKings, like ever. They are always the favorite. It just and they win, but they're always the favorite. They're super chalky, and then they just lose. And it's like the data point doesn't. I can't even use that data point to even confirm or deny what my hypothesis is. Anyway, so like ideally, you would want, if you're playing like smartly here, still banking on like if G2 is beating big, you would probably want or assume that you need Mondesi and Nico, clearly the two best players from FaZe, which it's going to be Brokey. And if we're paying for losing guys already, we might be able to get it to work. 58. I mean, then you get like, let's just kind of think out loud. I'll jump into SaberSim and talk about this in more detail and why this is so interesting. It's like I don't really want to use Kerrigan if I can help it. Throw ropes in the road. We have 55. Like we're picking two losing guys, so like that is not what I want to do. It's most likely you just Brokey with this type of build would be not outscored, pushed out based on pricing. So 54. Anyway, I mean, I clearly understand I'm not building this way, but I'm doing this for the video purposes so you can see where we're at with the, and like I said, maybe it's not even archaic, it's just the way that I used to play. That hasn't been able to work out nearly as much as I want to. I think I've only won like 2 or 3 CSGO slates since CS2 came out. And that has been less than stellar and certainly very poor compared to what it used to be. So let's go ahead and just look at what SaberSim has, not based on their projections, but also this is the odds for on Pinnacle as well. We see G2 the big favorite. We see FaZe the big favorite, but that's not necessarily important here. So let's get here. Okay, so like again, we're not looking at the projections. I mean, we can in the sense of where we know where everybody is, but like it's clearly G2 and FaZe. Whoa, like projections don't fucking matter here. But let's go ahead and build. Let's get as many. Yeah, fuck it, we're gonna leave it min. And yet again, so I'm probably gonna show we're gonna show a lot of lines here, and yet again, it's not. Oh, what did I mess up here? Okay, it's not about showing the lines. It's not about what the projections are saying. It's all about like lineup construction, which is yet again the main focal point of why I went live here. Because everybody knows I like, I like math problems and stuff, and we're just seeing, at least for me, we're just seeing that CS2 plays out so differently. Anyway, so what I'm really trying to do here is at this point we're no longer viable, or it's no longer viable to play the best player on the winning team and the captain where I'm at, unless you're playing an underdog, or unless they are mispriced. Sometimes like Mondesi should probably still be more expensive. Zywu should probably be more expensive and stuff like that. But like with this type of salary, with Brokey and Mondesi both being like, Brokey's the best guy. Like we clearly can't make it work with Brokey and or Mondesi in there, and so we're having to move down. And the reason I'm bringing this up yet again, it's kind of like how F1 has been becoming. Although we don't punt at the bottom in this, but we're very much needing the mid-tier plays here, and so that's where like the math problem comes in, or the math game comes in, because like when we're analyzing how each of these teams play, we fully understand that the only viable people from G2 are Mondesi, Nico, and Hunter. Okay, and when we just game log and we see what we're playing here, like this is why Mondesi is so important. I mean, these are losses and stuff. and actually, and we're also seeing truly in CS2 that players are scoring more when they go to a third map. Like, it is drastically different compared to how CS:GO was, to where you needed like a match sweep to be. Now you basically need these games to go to game 3. It's very frustrating. Um, from that, like when you just look at Monacy's stuff here, his games that go to a game 3 is the ones he's scoring the most on. Like, on average, he's scoring more in game 3s than in straight up wins. It's like that's fucking frustrating. That's like super unfun to to at least for me. That's why I've been struggling so much, because that's frustrating. You're basically being like, if you're building with projections in mind for 2 zeros, you're practically being punished for or maybe not even punished for making projections, but like how guys are going to end up scoring. It's almost like I guess MMA in a sense, but even then it's not the same, because MMA you get like, you get more points if your guy wins in the first round if it's a knockout and stuff. Um, but it's kind of like MMA in a sense that, like, if you're looking at like the main card, or like a 5 round fight, compared to what a 3 round fighter can score, even if you're right, outside of an early takedown or a win from like a favorite in an early round, like if it's a 3 round fight and a favorite doesn't win in round 1, but he wins in round 2 or whatever, like even if he's like a bigger favorite than the underdog in the main card, you're basically being punished for somebody performing. I guess that analogy doesn't work. Anyway, like, you're being punished for playing players on a winning team when they blow the shit out of another team at a 2-0, because the winning teams in a 2-1 are scoring way better, and even the losing teams are scoring way better when they lose 1-2 than winning 2-0. That's I probably could have just said that in the beginning. So that's why CS has been very frustrating. Same thing with like phase. Like, when we'll look at just how Brokey does. You know, win, loss. I mean, Brokey's much more consistent. His phase is much more consistent, but still, like, those higher scores. I mean, it's still Brokey, but a lot of those higher scores are coming more on average in game 3s, when these stupid ass games go to a third map. I mean, that's a loss. That's like that's insane. That's a win. Like, yet again, of how things are scoring, win, and he scored 36 points. That's insane. So when we look at this map and we look at this slate here, both these games do not project to go to a map 3. Okay, if they were going to do that, just where we're at, like where teams should win, like G2 should win, FaZe should win. The odds on Monty, yet again, I'll make the case that they are. Where are we at? 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 These odds are for them to win the map or win the match. Like, clearly they're not going to do that. But the odds of this game going to a game 3, Bovada might have it more. I mean, it's pretty close to a game 3. Same thing between these two. Okay? And so at this point, yet again, like, realistically, both these teams should win 2-0. Like, they're the better teams. But how the MR12 is in CS2 and how these teams can play, like, real cases, both these games go to a game 3. Okay, so what does that do to projections? Okay, most people would know when I mentioned how I would play these. It is, you just line the 5 guys from the winning team of map 1, 5 guys from the winning team of map 2, and they typically fall in line somewhere like this. And then you just kind of mix and match. Well, now when both games go to game 3, like, that's out the fucking window. Like, anybody can outscore anyone. So, like, now that Saber Suit should probably be done, you're gonna see. I mean, well, one, it's one to do Monty. Let's not do that. Let's look at projected. So, like, 3 winners, 2 winners, and then a one-off loser of just whoever is scoring the best from like a losing team. And we're seeing that Nico, I was going to get to like Nico, like it's very much like now, this is one of the, like, in my opinion, hardest DFS things to win because you can't cheese it anymore. Like now you have to play like the mid-tier guys as the captain, hope that they like have a good day, and then still like you don't want them to have too good of a day, especially if you're playing three guys from that team. Like if you're doing like Nico, you know, let me change that. Like if you're doing like Nico in the captain, it's very risky to have Mondesi and Hunter in the other positions because if Mondesi and Hunter are doing well, then that means Nico isn't scoring well because like there's not a lot of room for that. Like if Mondesi and Hunter have their day, then Nico is like gonna just fare, you know, his like regular stuff of being in like, you know, in the 40s, you know. Like he's scoring so well in a loss. Like this shit is wild. CS2 has been so wild for DFS. Um, so you run into a predicament of when you're in the when you're captaining somebody, you almost want just one other guy from that team. Hope that Nico is the first or second best scorer from that team. Play three from the other winning team. So like it doesn't even matter for this example here. I mean, even still, then you're having like punt and just have to be right about this. And I mean, Process is a slightly better player than the other. Like he's much more consistent. Like I think he's very much a play today. But like maybe this is an example. Like if you get a 27, this line's dead. 20, this line's dead. Those are. It's a one match thing. Let's look at. I mean, dude, it's so frustrating. It's so wild to build lines for CS2 now. And I apologize if this is, you know, a poor video or not really saying much. But it's more so just me getting thoughts out and just kind of talking about how CS has changed in terms of DFS play and stuff like that. If you guys do have any questions, if anybody isn't here, like I will be more than happy to answer things specifically for the slate. But these are just kind of my thoughts. And so like when we look at these uh, lineups here, so like now just in general, basically this I would argue that these are the entirety of the lineups that you could make for this slate. I mean, clearly this slate is only having, you know, 11,000 or 1,100 people in it, but the possible like lineups that you could actually make would probably be like 2,800 and stuff. And so at this point, what I do is yet again, I haven't looked at the projections. I don't really give a shit. I already know how things are going to fall in line. And typically, when it's with the tier one teams, SaberSim at least tiers them correctly. Like Monasu should be the highest scoring guy from G2. Nico should be the highest scoring or the second highest scoring guy from G2. Uh, and then it's like Hunter should be the third highest scoring guy from G2. Nexus should be the fourth highest scoring. Hooksu should be the fifth. Like that's all that matters is just where they're at in terms of projection, like order. That's really all I care about. Which is why I no longer do my own projections because that's mainly all I was trying to find. So when we're looking at like captain and stuff, so let's just sort them by exposure. That's insane. That's what. So first off, I would not play Searson. I would not play any big captains. Okay, but past that, we are seeing like it's Hunter, Nico, Nexa. Holy fuck. Uh, highest guy from Monty, Rain. So like Mondesi, like this is what I mean. Like this is just based on their projected stuff. Like used to, if you looked at Mondesi captains, you would see him like 26th, 35th, 97th. Like he's no these lines are no longer the highest scoring lineups. They're giving up so much, which actually it's not a lot because this is like 324. I mean, we're at 200, but that's 324. We take them out. Winning lineup is our highest scoring lineups are 332. So that's only 8 points lower than these. But in terms of how these slates play out, I mean that's fucking out of the cash. That's out of the cash line. Like that's not even viable. You know, lineups that are 8 points off the other projected ones like that. Those are dead on arrival lineups, man. Um, so looking through, so let's go ahead and find out. So let's, yet again, I'm going to build primarily focusing on the captain that is coming from the winning team. So that is FaZe and G2. Okay, so I just want to sort these of where we're at. So yet again, this is a great example of why I believe SaberSim is a really good tool, not just for building lineups, but it's a very everything I was doing over here, like manually showing you how, oh, this lineup goes here, oh, this goes here, oh, this does that, oh, this does that. I can just do it through SaberSim and get my 2,000 lines or whatever very quickly. So once we get past that, we now have Hunter, Nico, Nexa, Rain. Yet again, Brokey, like you can't make Brokey work. You can't make Modesty work. So we're just going to go ahead and remove these fellas. And interesting. Let's rebuild. So yet again, I at least in a sense like this, I use SaberSim more as a tool just so I could sort through lines very quickly and compare them with each other. I'm going to assume, and this is another aspect. So like I've been really hesitant on trying this because yet again, I just won so much playing the other captains and stuff or playing the way I did. It's like actively going against what had worked for me in the past is always difficult, but I think I am at a point where I need to do that. But then the times that I've tried it, like the huge favorites are losing, or you know, teams that should win run into issues. They lose. Games are way closer than they should be, and I haven't been able to get the um, relative data set points to test my theory because the theories that I'm building for haven't really even happened yet. And I think this slate is a chance for me to see that if G2 and FaZe win. And partly because I think FaZe is very much in line to have the winning captain. Because if Monacy is too expensive, and Nico potentially might be too expensive at 8-4, you have actually, well, it's not, you can't use Brokey, you can't use Monacy. Speaking out loud of trying to figure out where things are happening. So Frozen at 8-4 might be priced out. So it is Nico, Ropes, Hunter, and Rain would be the 4 individuals that I want to try. It's also not hard. Like I mean I have 210 in the account right now. Max entry in this is 21. I'm not going to do, or it's 35. I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to do like 10, maybe 12 lines. So I have to figure out what I want to allocate towards Nico, Ropes, Hunter here, and then build correctly at the bottom. So like, for example, if I'm doing like a Nico captain lineup, clearly I'm playing Monacy because he's like, I'm playing 100% Monacy in the captain, or in the in the flex because he scores so much and he's cheaper than Brokey. Like that's not changing. I'm going to be 100% on Monacy. But it's then, what are the 1v1s? What are the builds we're looking at? So it's probably Rain because he's 68. We're at 7,000 here. Yet again, if Nico's doing that, he's most likely having to outscore Hunter. So let's just see real fast. 68. Kerrigan, then you're having to put at the bottom. If we're going to do that anyway, it'd probably be Ropes. Kerrigan, we're at 74. So at this point, then you're in a predicament of getting another G2 guy in there, which we don't want to do because that's negative EV. And then opening the rest of this up to, do we take the best player on Monty here and hope this is the game that goes to either map 3 or DimQQ is just able to do it on his own? Like, this is what is frustrating as hell. Like, I need to not even backtest because I frankly don't give a shit about backtest and stuff post contest. I just want to keep up with them live and watch how they work. But like, this is a line that I need to do live research on of how live this type of lineup is in this slate. And not only is this live, and then does like you could have DemQQ perform terrible and the line's dead and it doesn't cash, but like was this build viable? And then was the 1v1 at the bottom just wrong? Was Karimbo the other guy? Was JDC the guy who worked here? Like that is where we're running into with CS2 builds and slates and stuff. So let's go ahead and look it through here again. So it's Nico Hunter, Frozen Rain. That's what I'm assuming here. Where's Ropes at in terms of interesting that Ropes? So like this is also interesting. Like when we actually, I will bring this up. So like if we just look at like phases, the last couple games, which specifically when we're wanting to look at how they're going to compete against Monty, you want to look at teams that are going to be very similar to them, which actually we just have those in lines here. Like these are very much good placeholders for Monty. And Eternal Fire is a bit better, but when we look at the scoring here and how everybody breaks down, like it's Brokey clearly, but like Kerrigan has a good game. Like, if you guys know Counter-Strike, like it's very rare for the IGLs to be the second best scorer. And then like Frozen just played like absolute trash. Ropes played like absolute trash. The value came like if this was on the slate, Brokey, and then the value would have worked. You come here, Brokey actually, underperforms based on his price. Kerrigan yet again does well. Value underperforms. Third best guy underperforms. Kerrigan does good again. You look at Astralis, expensive guy underperforms. Kerrigan underperforms. Rain underperforms. Like it's so insane. And all these are wins. Actually, that's an Australis win. I'm sorry. But like this was a phase win. This was a phase win. We get to them against Imperial. A blowout match, like a huge favorites. Just looking like I didn't have to look, but like Imperial scored 10 here. That's a true blowout. But like, look at these maps and how close they are. 13-11, 13-9, 13-10. That's a blowout. 13-4, that's rare. That's a blowout. What the hell is Eternal Fire? Actually, no, it wasn't a blowout. It was 13-9, 13-11, like close matches, and it's all over the place. Now that's phase, but then like when you look at a team that's centralized around two people like G2 is, you also see similar cases, similar cases in that here. M80 is playing really good Counter-Strike. That's really, really cool to see, man. I get to see them play in Dallas later this month because I'm gonna go see them. But like, oh my god, look at this. We win like quadruple, triple thousand overtime. 22-20. Good lord, man. So this might not be a good. But like even then, we go into overtime, and Mondesi underperforms. I mean, Hooksy is just unplayable. Next is unplayable. But then like Mondesi wouldn't have worked out in a DFS situation here. And speaking more in a 2-game, I'm pretty sure they were all in the 5-game slates, but we don't play those. Like same thing here, Mondesi. Probably with statistics, probably with assists, he probably outscored Nico. Actually, no. Maybe slightly. But then it was Nico Mondesi. Hunter barely squeaks in there. Unplayable. Maybe working out. You look at this one where they lose. All over the place. Another loss. All over the place. 2-0 win. This is what, even then, Hunter shows up. Hooksy just plays terrible. Hunter would not have worked in DFS. Next would have been in play. Hunter would have been play. It's all over the fucking place, man. It's no longer like that. That's why my approach is archaic. I need to change the approach. It does not work anymore in CS2. So anyway, looking at the slate, where I'm at, what I'm going to do, probably this week, because we have quite a lot of 2-gamers coming up, and throughout the month of May, since we should continuously have 2-gamers and stuff, is I'm going to try and focus primarily on trying to figure out how to optimally play the value plays and what you need to do with the one guy from the losing team you play. Because, like, yet again, it goes, I don't remember what lineup I had, but it was like we had 72 left. And I need to determine if it is better to play the best player from the losing team of who you have the more people from, like, because the lineup is going to be like a 3-2-1. Do you want that one off to be in the game that you have the 3 other guys in, or do you want that one off to be with the 2 guys you have? And then also, or do you want your captain to be part of that group of 3 or the group of 2? Like, that is what you are having to figure out now in CS2 versus CS:GO, because MR15 you didn't have to worry about that. Now with MR12, like that's the new thing you have to figure out. And what I've just seen more and more. I mean, Nick the Stick still knows how to play. Like, let's see if they're actually in here. Let's see if they've joined yet. I mean, this goes live at like 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Is he in here yet? I don't recognize so like here's Nick, phenomenal player. Probably doing 35 again. Yeah, dude, he's so fucking good. But we're seeing a lot more solo winners in these, and like just ugly, ugly ass lines. Ugly ass lines coming through with both winners, like both expected winners are like 2-0 in the field or 2-1 in the field. Just ugly lines are coming through. And because, CS2 is just not covered that much in the DFS industry, I talked about it. Like, I figured I'd do this and basically make the PSA of like, hey man, things are changing. I don't think the way you played CS:GO is even viable anymore. If you the way you're playing Counter-Strike DFS in May of last year is just no longer viable at all. So that's kind of where we're at. I've hinted in the Discord that, hey, I'm trying new things. I'm looking at different aspects. I'm looking at different approaches. And I'll kind of reach out when I figure one of these things out, or when I find what's working for me and stuff. But I figured I'd do this and talk about it live and kind of give an update, or something on kind of where we're at, where I'm at in that, where my mentality is at, where I'm wanting to approach things and attack things and build wise and stuff like that. So anyway, I don't know if this is helpful, but I was just kind of in the mood to talk about it. I know there's 7 of you guys here, at least listening in the background and stuff like that. So thank you for being here, and best of luck in this slate tomorrow if you're playing, and other CS slates in the future. And hopefully we can try and figure out this new meta. And I'm actually probably late to the adjustment party on this. Like, that's probably on me for just not paying attention, not being aggressive enough to notice when my approach is just not working as much. But I don't know, we'll figure it out. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I'll enjoy the rest of your